Hello, Star Citizens, and welcome to another use case video here on Saturday. This one is actually coming after a lot of like thinking about how I was gonna do this use case video, because if you didn't know, I am the owner of the Nautilus. So it's really interesting when you really think about what this ship can do and what it can't do. So it's this one's gonna be an interesting one, but as always, we are still running our contest. So make sure you like, dislike, leave a comment, and subscribe and on any of the videos from this month, and you will be entered to win that contest. Yeah, and it's a Drake Vulture, so it's gonna be pretty cool, and we're giving it away here in a few days. So if you have been thinking, hey, I really want a Vulture, here now's the time to go through, watch the videos, and like and leave your comments and everything. And if you're not subscribed, this is always the best time if you feel like it. If you don't, hey, just enjoy the video. So this one is like the Nautilus. I feel like I say this every video that this is one of my favorite ships, but the reason I was able to spend money on these ships is because I have so many favorite ships. When you think about it, there's what, 238 ships, right? Or somewhere around 238 ships. And I have what, 26 ships, right? So I don't even have an eighth of the ships, right? But the ships I have are all ships that I love, right? And I there's even one or two that I love that I don't even own. So I would say out of the 26 ships, though, only about 15 or 16 of them are actually like, they have to be in my fleet or I would freak out. The rest are more like, well, I bought a pack, or I upgraded this and I could find a use for this, or stuff like that, or I bought it for some other reason. The Nautilus is one of those 15 ships, though, that I must have in my fleet. And the use case for this, I can't really do a loadout for it because it's not out yet. But the use case for this is very niche. But I wanna start by saying the ship is $725. So if you're not in the mindset of like, I'm gonna spend $725 on a ship, well, it's 675 war bond, but 725 if you use credits, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. Now, mind you, I believe I only paid about 400. I don't even think I paid 400. I think I paid like 350 for mine. 350, 375, something like that. So I got mine for way cheaper than what it goes for. At least $300 cheaper than what it goes for. And that's from using CCUs. And I think I only saved up CCUs for a year before I bought it. So I probably could have saved even more money. But at a certain point, I just was like, hey, I just want to be done with the whole CCU game. Yeah. So if you're already of the mindset that you're not going to buy a $725 ship or $675 ship or even CCU to get this ship for $400 or whatever you think you can get it for, if you're already of that mindset, then you're watching this video just for fun. But for the people who actually are trying to make that decision, that's what this use case video, I think, will be for. So my primary reason for needing the Nautilus, my primary reason, is because I plan on doing both construction and mining operations and owning like small, outposts and stuff. I think I had this idea of owning like an entire planet at some point, but that might be unwieldy. Maybe if I'm doing like YouTube full time or something, I might have time for that. But that's years from now. So yeah, I don't think it'll work out that way. I might own like 2 or 3 outposts, that are connected within, maybe 5 or 6. 5 or 6 makes more sense because I'd probably have 3 in one system and 3 in another system, and just like slowly build those up, over time, and make them, more solid outposts, make them more defendable, make them, just make those really cool. And then maybe cities will be built around those that I don't have to like necessarily control. But that's kind of my deal, is like I want to do both construction and I want to do like science stuff, find new species or overclock things or whatever it is. Like find new ways of doing things. Whatever science gameplay ends up being, that's what I'm looking forward to. But the Nautilus is really just to protect those outposts, whether protecting them from space to the extent that they can. I know these things, the mines can't go in atmosphere, if you didn't know that already. You know, maybe I build a space station, which makes a lot of sense. You know, I have 3 outposts and then a space station above those outposts, and then, you know, those space state, like there's those outposts send things to the space station, and then people arrive at the space station and deliver those things to the other space station, and then that space station delivers things down to the other outposts in the other system, so on and so forth. Like they're all, you know, they're all like connected in some way. Maybe, you know, one of those outposts is on a moon, one is on the planet, and then one is on another moon or another planet, you know, and that's kind of like the way that they're gonna work. But the Nautilus is there to actively defend the space station that's above each one of these outposts. You know, I don't know how many there will be, but that's what it's there to defend. It's also there to defend, you know, if I have a mining operation going on somewhere, and I take my Orion out, if I have a salvage operation going and I have a you know, a reclaimer out, whatever I take out, if I'm doing construction, you know, of a space station even, and I want protection there, right? And that's really what the mines are for. Now, a lot of people are like, how can you do mines in a space game? Well, I think it's very possible, right? So if you read the brochure, the Nautilus is, and I think this will change. I think these will all get upgraded at some point. But the Nautilus has 3 types of drones. It has the explosive drones, which are said to be the equivalent of a size 5 torpedo. And then it has the drones that shoot, I think they're size 2 guns. I think it's like a turret. It's like 2 size 2 guns connected to each particular drone, which size 2s aren't really that big of a deal. Those are probably not going to do much damage to anything that's small. So you would more so be using the explosive versions for, you'd be using the explosive versions for like the larger ships, and then you'd be using the shooting versions, the turret versions for like the smaller ships. And then the idea is that they'll have some radius where in order for them to hit, the person has to go within that radius or fly within that radius in order for them to hit anything. And the idea is you'll have 24 mines to use in total, right? So you could do 12 that are this explosive kind and 12 that are this turret kind. And the idea is that you lay the mines, and then they'll have a set range, and then that range is what will be covered by the mines themselves. And then of course you would have the ship, you know, also surveying the mines and doing maintenance on the mines and going back and forth just to make sure that everything's good. But the ship itself also acts as a defense of this area because it has size 7 turret that's 2 guns on it, and then it has some size 3s, and I think it has some size 2s on it, if I'm not mistaken. So the ship itself, I also think is going to be very defensive. Like I think it's going to be one of those ships that has like a very high hull HP, but we don't really have anything to go off of, so that's more hopium, I guess. But the idea is that this ship is more of a defensive ship in general, so it makes sense that it would have a higher hull HP. So I think those size 7 guns are what the real deterrent is, you know, outside of the mines. So you need to have that one manned, somebody to fly it, and somebody to do the maintenance on the drones, and maybe one other person as an engineer or whatever else, a crewman. So you need, it's a minimum crew of 4. And I think the way that people will use this is exactly the way I intend to use it, which is like, it's just basic protection for these areas. It's not an end all be all of protection. It's not going to replace human beings sitting in ships. It's meant to be more of a deterrent, right? Like if somebody is flying into an area and they scan and they ping and they see all these mines and they don't have a Nautilus, there's nothing they can do. They can't. I mean, at best they can try to go around. But my guess is that CIG is going to make the mines a little bit more useful than just sitting in one place, right? Like once you ping them, they're probably going to get your location, and once you try to go around them, they're going to like move to kind of block your area of being able to get in. Because again, you think that people bought a $675 ship and it's just going to be useless. I'm telling you that that's not going to happen. That will not happen. CIG wants this ship to be useful. It will be useful. Now, it might be that they add more drones. Maybe instead of 24, you get 48. I don't know. Or maybe they have some massive radius. But the idea, I think, will be that they'll be able to be spread apart enough and detect ships well enough to where they will act as a deterrent. They will not deter everyone. That's not what I mean by acting as a deterrent. They will deter people who are not prepared to try to escape them. You know, it may be that faster ships are able to get away from them, or maybe, you know, you can break through kind of blockade style by just driving really fast through them and popping, you know, your chaff or whatever. That may be the case, but the idea is they're a deterrent, and you should be able to put those somewhere and then have people fly up to them and be like, is this worth the effort? Some people will choose and say, yes, this is worth the effort. And other people will say, no, absolutely not. Or some people might even have their own Nautilus, which is the third type of drone that the Nautilus carries, which can disable these particular types of, the Nautilus can disable the same drones that it puts into service. So if you are wondering like, well, what do I do if I get up to these drones and I do want to continue on? Well, you have to have a Nautilus to disable. Now, it may be very possible that ships like the Carrack, or maybe even the Apollo, any other ship that has drones attached to it, it's very possible that those may be able to have variants or some type of modularity where they too can bring a drone that can get rid of other drones. It's very possible that that might happen in the future, but right now the only one that has been told to be able to do this is the Nautilus. The Nautilus is the only one that can disable drones that came from the Nautilus. So with that being said, another use for the Nautilus is when you go up against other Nautiluses, right? Like you go up against the Nautilus, you take your Nautilus out, or maybe you're in a different ship, man. Let's say you're in a you're just cruising around in a C1 or something, and you see, oh wait, there's a piece of salvage here, like, but it's covered with all these like, you know, mines. Like, okay, I'm gonna go get my Nautilus, I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna, you know, replace all these mines with my own. Then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna get my reclaimer, and I'm gonna get 2, you know, protective ships to come with me, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna get this, you know, this salvage for myself. Meanwhile, the people who originally put those mines there come back and they see that your mines are there instead, because they left those mines there and then they went back to go get their ship, that their reclaimer or their vulture or whatever, and then they come back and all of a sudden those mines are flying at them and they don't understand what's going on, and so they have to abandon the mission. Meanwhile, you're already coming back and you're claiming that salvage, and you're gone before they can even return the favor. So, you know, I think that would be a really cool way of using the Nautilus. But one of the things, you know, besides those are like I think the intended uses, right? Deterrent, and to remove barriers to things that you want access to, so that you can then you know, have, basically you could do whatever it is that the other person was intending to do when they were blocking off that section, right? So deterring, and I guess it's de-arming. But another thing that I think you can use the Nautilus for that people don't think about enough, and this is something that I said when I reviewed the Nautilus, is that with those size 7 guns, this thing can officially do, I mean, actually with all the guns that it has the size 3s, it has I think it has 2 size 3 turrets, and then it has, no, it has 3 size 3 turrets, and then it has 1 size 7 turret. So, and then of course it has the mines, right? Now, I don't know if how the mines will work in combat, but I can imagine you being able to drop some of those in the field of combat, right? Like, not, you know, in a way where it's like area denial or whatever, but maybe you know, create kind of a circle around yourself, and then, you know, of mines, and those move out of your way as you fly around, and then maybe people fight you. I don't know if that'll be possible, but even without that, even without being able to use the mines, I think what those size 7s and the 3 size 3 turrets allow you to do some HRTs and ERTs. I think that will allow, because think about it, the I think the largest gun outside of the size 10 on the Idris is a size 7 weapon. So if this thing has the same size 7 turret as that thing, I sat in that Idris turret. I saw what it did to ships. One shot, boom. And if you're fighting something almost the same size as you, it doesn't take many more shots to go boom. So this thing, I think, will be able to do things like that. Now, it only has 64 SCU of cargo, so you're not going to be able to like take a lot of spoils with you if you're doing those types of missions, but you can take enough to you know, refit, rearm, and refuel. You know, it should be enough to cover your rearming and refueling every time you go back to base. So I think that's another use for this ship. You know, it can do some bounty hunting. Now, will that be the primary use? Absolutely not. If you're buying one of these just to go bounty hunting, I mean, to each their own, honestly, but that is not what I would do. I would not buy one of these just to go bounty hunting. But I also think that I want people to be unique with their ships. I want people to do whatever they want with their ships. I'm not going to tell you what not to do. I just don't think that's the primary purpose of this ship, right? And what you're looking at here is the Solstice edition. So this is the skin that I'm so upset that I do not have, because when the Nautilus came out, I wasn't even sure I was going to need it in my fleet, because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do in the game yet. I had only been following the game for like 2 years at that point, so I had no idea what I was actually going to do in the game yet. And also, I don't think I had $675 to just spend. So I didn't even purchase the Nautilus at all when it was in concept, let alone the Solstice edition. But I also didn't recognize that it would be this really cool skin. I liked it when I first saw it, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it because I couldn't afford it. And now I'm like, oh my goodness, I really love this skin. So I wish I had one of those, but maybe, just maybe, one of these days it'll come back on sale and I'll be able to pick one up, because I think that's a pretty rare one. But anyway, I think the Nautilus is one of those ships where it's so niche that it's hard to recommend it to people, and it's so expensive that it's hard to recommend it to people. I also think it could stand to have a little bit of a better mix as far as turrets, but considering when this ship was concepted, and I think it was like I said, I think it was 2019, so it's 5 years ago is when it was concepted. A lot of things have changed, and a lot of ships are getting upgunned now. So my thinking is that size 7 turret might become a quad turret, and that those at least one of those turrets, I believe it has a belly turret. I think that belly turret might become a size 5 turret. And I think the 2 side turrets will remain size 3s, but I think those might become quad turrets instead of dual turrets. And so having 4 guns on that, 4 guns on the size 7, and then taking the size 3 to a size 5, and maybe that's only a dual turret, but I think that would make a little bit more sense. But again, I don't know if any of that's going to happen, but my guess is with such a large ship, and its primary purpose being defense, like, yes, it's a mine layer ship, but if you're going to put size 7s on this thing, that you're also saying this thing is also meant to fight a little bit. But maybe it has the weaker guns because it's going to have some crazy amount of armor. So we'll see. Because I would be okay with that if they kept the guns the same and it just had some ridiculous amount of armor to where if you fought this thing, it would just be a slog. Like you would have to fight it for 30, 45 minutes just to take it down, to the point where people just didn't even want to waste their time and effort. Like, so if that was the case, then, you know, keep the weapons the same and then, you know, to see who wins. But yeah, the use case for this one, like I said, is pretty niche. I plan on using it mostly as deterrent, and mostly as like, oh, you thought you were gonna defend that? No, it's not defended. I'm gonna remove your mines and I'm gonna go in. But yeah, that's my use case. I wish I could do like a loadout for this, but it's just not in the game yet. I love one other thing that I love about this ship though is that it has this amazing redundancy. And you know, I don't think people, when they look at this, they think about like everything it has, but it has 2 large power plants, it has 3 large shield generators, 2 large coolers, 2 large fuel tanks, 2 quantum fuel tanks. So this thing, not only can it travel pretty much anywhere, but it has redundancy. If one thing goes down, it has another thing to bring it up. So that's another great point about the ship. But again, the ship is $725, 675 war bond. I'm not telling anybody to go out and buy this ship. I'm just saying that's why these videos start with, so you bought a Nautilus, because this assumes you already bought one. This isn't trying to convince people to buy them so much as to be like, well, you got one. Did you think of this as a way to use it? Yeah, I also don't like the loaners for the Nautilus. I think the loaner should be, I mean, I like that a hammerhead is a loaner, but it should not be the only loaner. Because if I'm thinking of the use case of this ship, it should be able to fight, but it's not like it has 4 turrets total, but I don't think that it's a turret heavy ship, if that makes sense. Like the hammerhead just looks like it's the same size, I guess. And I guess that's why I'm thinking like it looks like it's the same size, and maybe that's why they went with it. But even still, I think I would have done maybe a Carrack, and then some more like turret heavy side ships. Like maybe I would have done a Scorpius or something. But again, the loaners are not based on what you deserve because you bought this ship. They're more so based on what ships do we want to really test out right now, I think, and we're going to put those in the game. But there you have it, the use case for the Nautilus. I'll reiterate, that is as a deterrent, keeping people away from an area, as a disarmer, to disarm people who are trying to keep you away from an area, disarm their mines, and also as a bounty hunter because of the amount of space that you're going to have in that 64 SCU cargo area. And I don't know if this thing will be able to fit any vehicles or anything in it, but my guess is you'll be able to fit at least a small vehicle in here too. So I just don't know if that'll take up the cargo area as well. So we'll have to see what that comes out to for crew. But yeah, that's 3 uses. If you bought a $675 ship and are wondering like, wow, this really only has one one use. But when you look at the brochure description, it does say it's really just a niche necessity of distant outposts, but they say it has some serious firepower and some serious long range capability. So I think that's what it's going to be, and maybe it'll have some scanners or something that'll make it super useful. It has 2 computers, you know, it has a large radar, you know, so maybe it'll be able to do some, you know, not exploration, but maybe it'll be able to find some things that you typically wouldn't be able to find, you know, giving it a 4th purpose. But until it comes out, we can't really determine that. So all right, that's it for this one. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for spending your time with us. Peace.